rolls. The filling's pretty simple. You can do this. I'm gonna do the filling, and then you're gonna do the sauce.
Yep.
And then we're gonna roll them together, deep fry them. And then the rest should be.
Sounds good.
Are we ready to roll?
We are.
Okay.
We took our cart.
Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We are excited to have you all back with us again for another edition. This month is Fruit of the Harvest. And so Chef Tom and Chef Steve, as usual, always have some things up their sleeves. As you all know, it is officially fall, not just by the calendar, but by the weather. Although today is pretty nice, but the last few days it's been a little chilly. So we're going to get into some fall stuff. And so we're excited. And then they'll be back in November for Native American Heritage Month to give honor to that month. And so just a few things up their sleeves today. And literally there might be something falling out of somebody's sleeve. I just don't know whose sleeve it is. Over to Chef Tom and Chef Steve. Oh, and by the way, Chef Steve has gotten married. So we want to say congratulations.
Thank
He
you
is
all. I appreciate
a
it. Thank you.
married chef. So he's a married chef now. Before he was a single chef, now he's a married chef. Over
Nothing
to the
wrong with a
married chef.
chef.
Nothing at all.
Over to you guys.
All right. Yes, that was awesome. I was actually at Chef Steve's wedding, and it was a great affair. And so,
Thank you.
we're all very, very happy for it. So, fruits of the harvest. So, when you think of harvest, Chef, what do you typically think of?
I think of apples. I think of pumpkin. I think butternut squash. Those
All right,
kind of.
so winter
very much
type
so.
vegetables. But the two most popular are always because there's an apple fest,
Mhm.
there's a pumpkin fest. Those are the two most popular. Walk through the grocery store right now. What's the big thing you see everywhere?
Pumpkins.
Pumpkin what? Pumpkin spice Cheerios,
yes.
pumpkin spice Rice Krispies, pumpkin spice coffee, pumpkin
Apple
spice
cider.
beer. Everything is pumpkin spice, apple cider.
Mhm.
So fruits of the harvest, meaning things are coming out of the fields. It's time to harvest. You know, what we do, make sure we set ourselves up for winter. We've been doing it for a long time. So we're actually going to do 4 recipes today, and each recipe is a course. So one is an appetizer, one is a salad, one is an entree, and one's a dessert. And they all incorporate different fruits of the harvest. The first one we're going to do is the entree because it takes a little bit of time to bake. So that's the first one we're going to do. And it's actually a pumpkin and chicken enchilada. Oh man, that sounds good. Chef.
Sure does.
So we're going to put the sauce together real quick. And this is actually a recipe I found on the internet, and I got the idea. If anybody watches Big Sky, it's a TV show on Channel 27, and one of the ladies was taking dinner to somebody she was courting, and she says, "My pumpkin chicken enchiladas always gets them." And I thought, oh, I like that idea. So I found the recipe, and so here we are. So first thing, this is the filling. I'm going to start by just sauteing some vegetables for the filling, and Chef Steve is going to slide over here, and he's going to mix these ingredients for the sauce.
All right.
So the filling, saute some some onions and some jalapenos. So this is like a half of an onion, 1 jalapeno. I'm going to saute that up till it's just about done. And Chef Steve's going to build the sauce. Chef Steve, what do you see in the sauce here?
So I see pumpkin. I see sour cream. Looks like some chicken stock. It's like tomato puree. And then green onions for our garnish. Like some chili powder, some salt and pepper, garlic. Like some possibly cumin.
Cumin
And then it looks like some chili powder.
and some cayenne.
Oh, cayenne. That was
Okay,
the
cayenne.
first one.
Yep.
All right.
So Chef Steve's going to fold all that
Put
together.
it all together.
So I know you're thinking pumpkin and tomato. Wow.
Goes actually really
Actually
well
goes
together.
really, really well together. All
I
right.
think last year, Chef, it was either
We
last
did the
year,
pumpkin
the
chicken
pumpkin
chili.
chicken chili.
It's one of the dishes that we featured here at the Chef's
Mhm.
Apprentice. And it is actually, it's a great way of adding vitamin A to your diet and fiber and a small can of pumpkin. So this is actually 1 can of pumpkin and 1 can of tomato sauce. That's what goes into it.
And actually, the soup that we did last year was, we actually entered it into the Alex
Alex
Smith
Smith chili cook-off.
chili cook-off.
Yep.
Didn't win anything, but it was this great experiment, and then we featured it in the restaurant.
All right. So while Chef Steve's mixing that up, forget your garlic, Chef.
Well, not.
Right. So for my filling, what I have here is some rotisserie chicken meat. So nowadays, and the Giant does it, the White Store does it. You can go in and buy a pound or two of rotisserie breast meat that's already pulled from the chickens that they cook that they don't sell, basically, is what they're doing. And it's a little pricey, but it's a great product. And for a convenience dinner, something like this, this is a great way to use it up. So this is about 1.5 pounds of rotisserie chicken meat that I've shredded. This is 1 can of black beans that I drained and washed. And then these are the veggies that I just got done sauteing. So I'm going to add that.
So weirdly enough, when you mix all this together, it actually almost looks like a pumpkin pie filling.
It does. Okay. I'm going to fold that together. So I don't want to break up the meat. I want to kind of keep some of the chunks.
When it comes to the enchilada sauce, you want it to be a little loose because you're going to coat your tortilla.
All right.
All right.
So Chef, I need just a little bit of that into this bowl.
Sure.
Good. All right. So I'm going to toss that and coat that. And this is our pumpkin sour cream sauce. This is what you call tag team in a recipe.
I think
All right,
we're
so
missing
there's-
one more thing in there.
Yes, not yet. Some of this, we're going to take half of this cheese. And this is like 2 cups of cheese. So I'm going to take half of it, mix it in with my filling, and then the rest is going to go on top. So Chef Steve's going to show you a little trick how to make enchiladas with easy cleanup.
Because the thing with enchiladas is if anyone who's eaten them, they can be messy. One of the easiest cleanup methods is to put plastic wrap down on your work surface.
Here's
You need to make, thank you, Chef. So you need to make your countertop a little wet with a rag. And the reason for this is when you lay your plastic wrap down, it adheres right to the table and it won't move on you. All right.
Okay, and I recommend if you have gloves at home, you wear gloves when you're doing this, not just for sanitation, just for ease of cleanup. So what Chef Steve's going to do is dip each tortilla into the sauce to coat it.
Now, Chef Tom, when you say dip, what exactly do you mean?
I mean going boom, boom.
That's,
I don't mean
you
submerging
don't
it.
mean dunk it, you mean
I
just.
mean, yep,
just a
coat it
little
on
bit.
each side.
So what he means by that is you just take a little bit of each.
Yep.
And then what you do then is you just take a little bit and wipe it on the side of your bowl. So it's coated, but
Now
not.
we're gonna
not
line it up.
dripping. Tell you what, this sauce smells amazing.
So I'm gonna put about a quarter cup of the filling in each enchilada. That way we have the whole enchilada.
Mhm.
You knew I was gonna say that at some point.
I know.
I couldn't resist it.
Gotta have those lovely
Almost like a
jokes.
dad joke. We want to do this recipe first so that we can fire it in the oven. Kind of get it going.
And then another reason why the glove hands come into play, it's not gonna be the most greatest shot, but
You want to roll it. And then we have a spray tip.
Yep.
Right there. So before we do that, Chef, I just want to put a little bit of sauce down on the
Sure.
bottom. Okay. Just so that we know. Because the sauce is what makes the flavor. All right. Just like that.
set it right up here so they can see what we're doing.
And then our enchilada goes in there.
And the thing is, you want the seam to go down
Right. Why is that, Chef?
so that whenever it bakes, it doesn't open up on you in the oven. And then,
All the guts come out.
yeah, and it almost, instead of doing an open face, it'll be nice and closed.
Now, for this dish here, we're gonna get about 6 of these in here. And we're gonna put a little more sauce on top.
And enchilada sauce is very versatile. I mean, we've done it a couple different ways now in our cooking classes.
Yep.
You could just kind of make it pretty much any way you would like, depending on what.
All right. I'm gonna take this.
I got you.
I'm gonna fire it in the oven.
Here, Chef.
You got it?
Yep, sure
Okay.
do.
Chef Tom, Chef Steve, question for you. Did you all spray Pam in the bottom of the pan?
Yes, absolutely. Easy cleanup. I live by it. If I run out of Pam in my kitchen, I freak out. So, yeah, because any kind of sheet trays, skillets, anything, it makes easy cleanup.
Want to do a few more?
Yeah, we're gonna do a few more.
All right.
Just because we have the stuff. And it doesn't, you're gonna see, it doesn't take long. A little bit of sauce in here. Again,
And it's also best to bake it in a shallow pan.
so you can get them out of there.
Yep.
Okay, we're almost done. You can see if you do this with your kids, this is something you could teach your kids to do. It's pretty easy. They'd have fun with it. And they'd get excited about the meal. We got 2 more left.
Yeah, we got one in my hand and then one more.
All right,
Set of
perfect.
coat.
Chef's a question for you. How long will these take for preparation and what are you setting the oven on temperature wise?
So oven is at 350. So prep time is you could make your sauce, get your chicken, all that kind of stuff ready the day before if you had to. Just don't dip your tortillas, but you could assemble them. And you saw how long this took. and bake them off. It could take you about 10 minutes to assemble them, and they're going to take about 25 to 30 minutes in the oven. Everything's already cooked as far as the protein. So that's always what you worry about. So that makes it easy.
And if you have a helper, it goes even quicker.
It is not something I would recommend that you do this the night before, because your tortillas are going to get soggy. That's not what you want. Okay,
And you want to make sure you use the flour tortillas instead of like the corn.
right. Some people like the corn tortillas or the corn flour. For me, I like flour because they're just a little sturdier. And they're just easier to work with. All right. Easy
Beautiful.
peasy. All right. Now, chef, we got this big mess.
Yes. I'll show you the easiest way to clean this up.
I don't understand. We got this big mess.
All right. So, like we said with the plastic wrap, all you do, you just roll it over.
Wow. That's amazing. That's awesome. Good job.
Easy, easy.
Who says you're messy in the kitchen? All right, so let's just wipe up a little bit here. All right, so that's our entree. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do our appetizer. So one of the things I haven't spoken about is some of our ingredients today, if you guys can get a close-up of that. So when you say fruits of the harvest, first thing, of course, everybody always thinks about is pumpkin and apples. But there's other fruits of the harvest, other things that come from harvest time. So I have here some red beets. All right. Root vegetables are always take a little bit longer, carrots. So we're going to do a roasted beet salad today. That's going to be our salad. Our appetizer is going to be a fried green tomato parmesan. So these tomatoes are actually out of my garden. I put too many tomato plants in a raised bed, and I have now like a milk
Like a
crate full
swarm.
of green tomatoes. So I'm thinking, what am I supposed to do with these things? So traditionally, like people that can a lot might make green tomato salsa, green tomato relish. Fried green tomatoes are actually really, really good. We do a sandwich here at the restaurant.
Yep. Southern
It's-
fried BLT.
Southern fried BLT. It's fried green tomatoes on a BLT instead of red tomatoes. So green tomatoes, if you've never eaten them, are not sweet, but they're very firm, and that's what makes them great for frying. So you can make fritters out of these. There's all kinds of things. So we're going to do sort of a traditional fried green tomato breaded in cornmeal. And then we're going to top it with a marinara, some ricotta, and some mozzarella as an appetizer. But there's all different. So these are plum tomatoes I have here. And you can see some of them are starting to turn just a little pink. All right. But they still aren't sweet. And they are only sweet if you pull them from the vine or vine ripens. All right. So, great thing to use. A lot of people say, oh, I can't eat them, throw them away. But fried green tomatoes are really good. So in order to do this, I took the tomatoes and I cut them up ahead of time. So, and you'll see, I'm going to touch these with my hands. So they're a little bit of a different color on the inside. So this was one here that I cut that was starting to mature a little bit more, and you can see sort of the difference. All right, it's also a different type of tomato, right? These I think are Better Boys, and this is a Celebrity. I'm learning how to garden. So, but you can see the difference. So what's nice about frying them is they're very firm. So this one has a lot of juice in it, so it won't be quite as good. So we're going to do a flour, egg wash, cornmeal, breading. And we're going to go right in the fryer. If you don't have a fryer at home, You could probably air fry these. I would think
Absolutely.
that you could. So Chef Tom actually has an air fryer at his house. I never thought I'd get one, and I got one, and I absolutely love it.
Probably the thing that I would recommend is probably pop them in the freezer for a little bit, probably before putting them in the air fryer.
Air fryer.
Yeah, I would think.
So what I like about the air fryer is that I have a big double deck oven in my house, because I don't have to turn that on in the summer. I can use the air fryer and do enough for just a couple people. It doesn't heat up my house. Saves on energy too. All right, so Chef Steve's doing wet hand, dry hand. So we're gonna do,
Hey, Chef, if you do it all together, what do you get?
you get monster
You get
fingers.
monster fingers.
That's right. So monster fingers is when you dip your wet hand into the breading and then you just keep going back and forth. And then you got these big monster fingers.
It's also where gloves come into a good.
Yeah, not just for sanitation, easy cleanup. All right, so we're gonna do, let's do 8 of these. So give us 8. All right. And once Chef Steve has those done, I'm gonna take them over and fry them up. And I'm gonna assemble them on an appetizer plate. I'll tell you how I did it. And Chef Steve's gonna roll right into the salad.
Question, can you bake those instead of frying them?
That's absolutely you could. So if you're gonna do that, what you would want to do is take some of this stuff right here, food release, and spray the top of them and the bottom of them. So you're actually adding vegetable oil to the breading, and that'll help it pull together, and it kind of helps it brown. If you just went straight in the oven like this, they wouldn't get a lot of color. They need some type of oil to help them brown. So that's how you would do that. It's a tricks you learn in healthcare. So,
All right.
all right. Gonna take care of those.
Yep. Gonna wipe down my counter here real quick. And we'll move into the salad. So another thing when you think about fall harvest is beets. Beets are huge. They're not just a fall item. They're my wife, she loves them all year round. She'll roast them all the time. And I'll hit on that in a few minutes here. So I'm done wiping things down. Thank you, Chef.
Yep.
All right, so first I'm going to talk about beets. You could do very many things with beets. So as you know, when you get them in the grocery store, they're as hard as a rock. Almost as hard as a softball or a baseball. So what we did is we roasted them, which is one of the methods that you can do. So you can coat them in oil. Gonna move these over here. You guys can get an overhead shot of that. So what we did is we actually wrapped them in foil with a little bit of oil, and some coat them in salt just to get, as you roast them, it'll seep through the skin and it'll season your beets. Or you could just roast them with a little bit of oil and it'll be fine. So these, we just did them whole and foil right in the oven. You could also boil them just like you were boiling a potato. And the biggest thing is you want to take the skin off of them all. The skin is very tough. I've never had any with the skin on.
No,
No, it's not very common that you eat them with the skin on. You could also steam beets. You would just cut off the tops and the bottoms of the beets. They have like rough ends on the end. You would just cut them off, and you could roast them, but you just gotta slice them first. So those are a few different methods. Personally, especially at my home, I do salt roasted beets. My wife absolutely loves them. I don't eat them, but I'll do them for her anytime. All right, so when it comes to cleaning beets, biggest thing is you want to use a paring knife. Like I said, there's a top and a bottom. You're just going to cut off the bottom, cut off a little bit of the top, and then you're just going to peel it with the knife as if you would peel like a carrot, except you're just using a knife instead. And these are fantastic on salads. I used to work at Brico years ago, and we did a roasted beets as a side with a pistachio vinaigrette as a drizzle on the top, and topped it with some goat cheese. I'm just going to do a few of these so you can kind of see. So as you see, the flesh is nice and soft. It's nice and deep purple. You want to make sure you get all those skin pieces off. And the skins you could just discard. There's nothing that you could really do with them anyway. I'll do one more here. And it's best to do them on a cutting board. I know some people who do them in their hands. You can do that. It's just more of a risk of cutting yourself. And as you roast these, the skin literally just peels off. But it's easier to use a knife to get the skin off, just to make sure it's all gone. All right. All right. The next I'm going to show you how to compose our salad. Chef, can you grab me a bowl?
Sure.
Thank you. So the components of our salad, we have some spring mix here. We have goat cheese. And we're going to make a vinaigrette with some sherry wine, some shallots, whole grain mustard, and oil. And for the vinaigrette, it's 3 parts oil, one part vinegar to make a standard vinaigrette. I'll show that first. Thank you, Chef. Then you also throw a little bit of honey in it. Honey is what brings your emulsification together, so it doesn't break on you. So I'm going to start with my shallots, some whole grain mustard, and my vinegar. Gonna whisk that together. Now I like to whisk that all together to get all the ingredients incorporated before I add my oil. And what you could do is when you're at home, you have a towel. Get your towel wet, form it in a circle. You put your bowl down on it, it won't move on you as you're whisking something together. All right. Just gonna throw in your oil and whisk it all together. And what you're doing is you are making an emulsification with your vinegar and your oil. And as you can see, it's all nice and incorporated together. And I'm just gonna throw in just a touch of honey. Adds a little bit of sweetness to it too. Takes the tang off from the vinegar. About a tablespoon or two. Usually does the trick. And just whisk that together as well. All right, and we have our dressing here. So what we're gonna do next is this. We're gonna build all of our salad components together. Got our nice spring mix here. And with this is you want to use gloves because it's considered a ready to eat item. Nice bright greens. Those are beautiful.
I don't think so. You're real quick. I just wanted, before I throw these in the oven, I don't mean to interrupt your
Nope,
recipe,
you're
chef.
fine.
So I fried the tomatoes, and what I did is I made looks like a little ice cream sandwich.
Yeah.
It's actually ricotta cheese in the center. Okay, you can get a straight on shot of that. All right. And then I'm gonna sauce it with some homemade marinara and then some mozzarella cheese on top, and that's gonna be our appetizer. All right, you can see that. All right. All right, very good.
All right. As Epton was doing that, I started dicing our beets to sprinkle over top of our salad. And you're just gonna sprinkle some of these right over top. Got a few more here. All right. And then next we're gonna add some crumbled goat cheese right over top. If you don't like goat cheese, you could do a different cheese. You could do feta. Feta, I mean, I know feta is very salty. Goat cheese is very creamy. I personally love it. The thing with goat cheese is it's very soft. Crumble that right over top. Then instead of incorporating your dressing in with the salad, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna drizzle some right over top and take a ladle over top of it.
And what dressing are you using, Chef Steve?
It is, give me 1 second. It is a sherry wine vinaigrette. You're just gonna. And by you drizzling it over top, you don't overdress your salad. All right. A nice shot of that. Beautiful. All right. I'm gonna clean up my mess here. And we'll move on to our next recipe. How's the enchiladas coming, chef?
So I'm putting some cheese on top of them because you gotta top them with cheese. It's not enough to have cheese in the middle. You gotta have cheese on top. I'm just gonna finish those off in the oven. They're only gonna take a couple minutes. My parm is in the oven. All righty.
All right, so we started the appetizer. Started the entree, have the salad. What do we got next, Chef Tom?
So our last recipe. You have a 2-ounce ladle up there? Thank you.
Mhm.
Is going to be an apple pie egg roll.
Okay.
All right. So this is the plate for our parm. So that's just about ready. All we got to do is melt the cheese. Gonna finish up before we do the last recipe, chef. We're gonna finish up these two.
Yep,
That way it looks like we know what we're doing.
sounds good.
Okay. Here's our enchiladas. We need our green onion garnish. Gotcha.
Chef Tom, you can certainly use paisley in place of the green onions,
You mean parsley?
parsley. Mhm.
Yes, yes, you could. Yep. Absolutely. You could, if you don't like the green onions. The parsley, yep, for color, absolutely.
Okay. Enchiladas smell delicious, Chef.
Yeah, they do. I gotta tell you. And this looks pretty good. So you're gonna be a little wet. So this is another, Cindy, you could use parsley for this too. To give your fried green Parmesan tomatoes. Oh, boy. It's almost like vegetarian lasagna.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there we go. Holy cow. All right. I think we're ready for the finale.
I think so.
So again, Chef Steve and I are going to tag team you.
Chef, comment 2 says, looks like from Dina, just what I was thinking, Chef, a good vegetarian option for chicken Parmesan.
There you go. Yep. Yeah, because most people do eggplant, which is fine. There's a 9-inch skillet in the cabinet. So, and most people's tradition is eggplant. Thing is fried green tomatoes, they're not around, they're only around a certain time of the year for green tomatoes. But this is a great time if you had a healthy garden and you have more green tomatoes than you know what to do with. This is a great way to use it. So what I'm going to do, Chef Steve went and is getting me a little bit of a bigger skillet. So I want to saute my apples. So our dessert is actually and it's actually, I have to give Chef Patty credit for this. I found the recipe that she did it for one of the Christmas parties we had here pre-pandemic where they did assorted dessert egg rolls. And this was one of them. So I happened to see the recipe. I liked the idea. I kept my eye on it. And then it resurfaced today. So we're going to melt some butter. Once I get this butter melted, I have what here is a Granny Smith apple. If you don't know what a Granny Smith apple is, it's the one that, if you're a Beatles fan, it's the one that's on the Apple records. All right, so it's the bright green, right? So what's different about this, a lot of this is used for baking because it's very tart. Okay, so you can control your sugar. You add as much sugar as you want to get it sweet. So they're a little tart, they're a little firmer, so they hold up versus a Gala or a Red Delicious, which is what I have in my hand here. So I'm going to melt some butter. I peeled these and diced them ahead of time, and I just put a little bit of lemon juice in them just to keep them from turning.
As Chef Tom does that, I'm in the middle of making a caramel sauce too. It's a quick, easy caramel sauce to go with our egg rolls. You want a spatula instead?
This is good. So Chef Steve's going to walk you through the caramel sauce.
Yep. So you gotta start with melting some butter, brown sugar. Oh, minus the splash.
It's a good thing I have my goggles on.
All right.
These young guys, boy, let me tell you.
All good. All good. Gotta have
Yeah.
fun.
Absolutely.
All right. So as you add your brown sugar and your milk in, they call this a 2-minute caramel sauce. Literally comes together very, very, very quick. The only thing I don't have in here yet is the vanilla that we're going to add to it once it's all done being thickened.
So the reason I'm cooking the apples is because they're going to go into an egg roll wrap, and then we're going to drop them in the fryer, and they're going to cook up in, a minute and a half, 2 minutes. It's not enough time to get the apples cooked because the egg roll wrap, you're basically frying the outside and you're making like a crispy coating. So most egg rolls have cooked ingredients on the inside. All right, and then you just wrap whatever you wrap it in your egg roll. So it's also safer as far as if you're putting any kind of protein in your egg roll. Smelling good.
All right. So as Chef Tom was doing that, I cut off my heat for my caramel sauce. You guys want to get a shot of it? It's nice and bubbly. So I'm going to let that sit for a few minutes while we finish making the egg rolls. And what it'll do is it'll thicken up as it sets.
Okay, so basically what we have in here is apples and butter. I need those two ingredients.
Hey, Chef, just wanted you guys to know that Kyle will be over shortly to take of everything, especially the enchiladas, because he said they look extremely well. So he said to be expecting him. He'll be over shortly.
Okay, thanks for the heads up. IT's locking the gates. Just tell them. All right, so I have some ground cinnamon. I'm gonna put in here. I have a little bit of brandy. We're gonna put in here. Okay,
That smells good.
I
Chef,
have some vanilla extract. We're gonna put in there.
Chef Tom, question, why the brandy?
Just gives, because it's a dessert egg roll, so there's all different kinds of flavored brandies that you can use. Brandy has a little bit of a gourmet bit to it right now there's, you could, if you didn't want to use brandy, you could use a flavored vodka. Brandy's just sweeter. You could use an apple schnapps in here if you wanted. Just to give a little bit more flavor. Okay, last, brown sugar. Okay, and this is what's gonna make it kind of sticky, make it syrupy. And then this is just a little bit of cornstarch and a little bit of water, just to kind of pull it together so that it becomes a sauce. So we add a little bit of a slurry there. That helps hold it together. Okay, those are ready. So ideally, if we were going to do this recipe, we would want to make this and try to get it down to room temperature. So because of the restrictions of television, because we are on TV.
We are on TV.
You know, that's the way we look at it. So, so we're going to work with what we have. So chef, you
Mhm.
can bring that white cutting board. All right. And we're going to take our egg roll wrapper. And at this point, I don't need to have gloves on because why, chef?
Because we're getting ready to cook them.
So we're going to cook them. So if we don't need to have gloves on it, gloves are great for a lot of things, as we talked about today. But sometimes it makes it hard to do things like this. So this is an egg roll wrap. Not very expensive. We kind of want to lay it. I don't know if you guys can get a shot of that overhead. All right, so let's do this. Does that work better? All right, there we go. You bet. Hey, thank you. So the idea here is to put a small amount of filling. So I have a slotted spoon. So hopefully that'll make this a little easier to do. We want to put our filling in here. Now you could go in all kinds of directions here. You could do, if you wanted to put raisins in here. Okay. And create a French apple pie egg roll, you could do that. All right, and we want to keep it tight. And then we're going to egg wash the edge so that it seals itself. Just like so.
Chef
Okay.
Tom, for some of the newer ones on the line, can you explain what egg wash means and exactly what are you using as egg
So
wash?
I am using a whole egg that I added just a little bit of water to. Some people use milk. You basically get the same results. Milk costs more than water. So I just add a little bit of water to it. So you set up your egg roll wrap like a diamond. So the point's down towards you, just like a baseball diamond, just like, what's our team?
Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah, wish them luck tonight, everybody. Had to get that in there. I bleed red. All right, like I said, again, if these were cooled down, this would be a little bit of an easier process. So anyway, like I was saying, you could have added raisins to the process. All right, to make like a French egg roll, like a French apple. And then serve it with like a warm icing, like French apple pie. I like that idea.
Yeah, so do I.
All right. So the idea is to make sure that you get them all the same size. Chef, you want to try one?
Yes.
It's just sort of like a wrap.
Okay,
All right, fold it over, get it tight, and then fold your ends.
okay. Then you paint it first.
No, you paint it as you get up to the ends
All
here.
right.
All right. Get it nice and tight. All right,
And then fold.
and then fold. Make sure your corners are in.
Mhm.
All right,
And then paint.
then paint. Okay, get that tucked in, then finish it. Okay. So the key is we want to seal the ends too, so we have a
Gotcha.
little bit of.
Yep.
So you want to tuck it a little tighter. This is how we all learn in kitchens. We learn by doing. So there is no perfect way the first time. Get your corner to corner there like that. Got a runaway.
Got to run away.
All right, let's do one more.
One more. Yep.
So dessert egg rolls, you can do all kinds of things. And actually I learned this from Chef Patty, cheesecake egg rolls, chocolate mousse, all kinds of things. All right,
Nope.
tuck it tight. All right. All right, I'm gonna bang out the last one
All
here,
right.
and then we're gonna drop these in the fryer. How's your caramel sauce, Chef?
Going good. Be right back with that. All right, so it's gonna come over here so you can see it.
Ah, looks perfect.
Overhead shot. Set it up a little bit. I did pop it in the refrigerator just so it would set up just a little quicker for us instead of just letting it cool down generally or naturally. So what I'm gonna do, when my stepson finishes doing them, I'm gonna put some caramel sauce in our ramekin here.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna take these over to the deep fryer and we're gonna drop them in. So we're not going to drop them in. We're gonna bring the basket up. We're gonna set them into the basket. And then we're gonna drop the basket down in. So it's a wonton wrapper. So basically, and they're already kind of warm in the center. So it's really about getting them crisp. All right, our egg rolls are frying. They're gonna be ready in just a minute. Chef, you got your plate ready?
Yep.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
Any questions at all?
None in the chat.
Almost. Where's my tray? All right, because we're frying these, I want to pull them up and just set them up on a paper towel. Instead of putting them directly on the plate.
Chef Tom, good question for you. How do you dry out the oil? Since you're talking about putting these on a paper plate, how do you dry out the oil from bacon?
Can you repeat that one more time, Cindy? Sorry.
How do you dry out the oil since you're putting these egg rolls on a paper plate, a paper towel and then a paper plate? How do you dry out the oil from bacon when you cook bacon?
Oh,
Oh, from when you cook bacon.
Right,
so
because you're doing this here, is that an effective method as well, I guess, to put the bacon
it
on as
could
well?
be, yes. So the thing about bacon, the way bacon cooks, bacon has to fry in its own fat in order to be crisp. It's just the nature of the beast. Okay. So there's I'll answer your question here in a second. There's our finished product of our egg rolls. They look great. So that's a nice little dessert appetizer. And you see, there wasn't a lot of expense to it, just a little bit of time. All right, caramel sauce is easy. So bacon has to fry in its own fat. Of course, it's pork belly, right? So as it sets up and it starts to fry, we actually, in the restaurant, we always cook bacon on a sheet tray. We don't cook it in a skillet or a frying pan. We always cook it on a sheet tray. And then we turn it a couple times to make sure that it cooks evenly and we don't overlap it. And when we pull it off, we actually we do a couple slices of bread in a pan, and then we set our bacon on top of that. And that bread actually absorbs the fat. Okay, so we want to make sure that we drain it real well. That's what our method is. I don't know if that answers your question, but fat has to be part of the frying process for bacon, or it wouldn't get crispy. It would be very dry. And the thickness of the cut of bacon determines also your cooking time. There's some really nice thick cut bacon out there
Takes a lot longer.
that takes like a half an hour in the oven on a sheet tray. And you got to turn it 2 or 3 times. But at the end of the day, when you get your finished product, it's delicious and it's like nice and thick, and it holds,
Doesn't shrink a whole lot.
doesn't shrink a lot. It holds really well in the refrigerator, and you can reheat it in the microwave. Just wrap it in a paper towel, like 30 seconds in the microwave, and let it sit for about 30 seconds. And it's like it's right out of the oven. So I do it quite a bit. My wife's aunt taught me that. So it's a Tennessee trick. So, so I hope that answers your question.
Is there anybody else with any other questions before we close out? You will see that I put in the chat for everybody that there is a survey. If you enjoyed today's presentation, please fill that out. We just want to know what works. So if you can do that, that would be great. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I'll let the chefs have any final remarks. We'll be back here again in November for Native American Heritage Month. Keep a lookout for that menu coming to you soon.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you
you
all.
very much for
Thank you.
coming out. We appreciate it. And thank you to IT, and thank you to Kyle Burrito.
And Barb left a message saying that I hope Kyle will bring some of these goodies home. So,
We got you, Barb.
all right, bye, everyone.